Let's begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine the results. If you can figure out who done it, then only they will receive punishment. Then I'll punish everyone besides the blackened, and the one that deceived everyone else will graduate.
And the killer really is one of us, right?
Of course!
Okay then. Everyone,
Don't be a goddamn idiot. Why the hell would they raise their hand?
Before we move on and start the trial, what's going on with those pictures?
I'd feel awful if they got left out just because they died. Friendship penetrates even death's barrier.
Friendship penetrates? Okay, but what about that other empty seat? There were only 15 of us to begin with, so why are there 16 seats?
Oh, no reason. It's just that our little courtroom here can technically fit up to 16 people. Okay, that about does it for the preamble. Get ready to get started. First up is the case summary.
I assert that the one who was murdered was Miss Sayaka Maizona!
Yeah, we know that part already. And the murder took place in Makoto's room.
In the bathroom. So it seems most likely that
The killer must have taken her by surprise while she was in the bathroom. She didn't even have a chance to resist.
No, it's wrong.
Just a second, Chihiro. Try to remember how my room looked. With the way things had been damaged, I think we can definitely assume there was a struggle.
A struggle?
Between Sayaka and the killer, of course.
So you're saying Sayaka wasn't caught by surprise in the bathroom?
she must have been attacked in the main room first. The killer followed her in, and that's where they finished the job.
That much should have been obvious after taking one look at the scene.
Okay, so what's next?
Next is the subject of...
Wow, this is...
So what was used to kill her?
There was some kind of sharp object thrust into her stomach. Without a doubt, that is the murder weapon.
So the killer used some random knife they had on him.
No, it's wrong.
No. I do think it was a knife, but not just any knife. I'm almost positive it was a kitchen.
Huh?
After the murder, we discovered that one of the knives from the...
Which means that knife must...
Oh, yeah. I guess that makes sense. You could sort of see the weapon sticking out of her stomach. And if you look real close, I could totally see that being a kitchen knife.
Okay, so the murder weapon was a kitchen knife, but where does that get us? I mean, we all know Makoto killed her, right?
That's right. Makoto's room was...
Hold on a second.
Let's draw our conclusions after we presented our arguments.
Otherwise, what's the point of the trial?
Well, we can talk all we want. It's not gonna change that.
I don't think that's true at all. I'm sure if we keep at it...
You really believe?
So I guess there's no question that the kitchen knife was the murder weapon. But where does that get us?
Makoto must have taken it from the kitchen, right? He did it in secret.
Nobody was in the... No, it's wrong! Okay, wait. Hold on. I didn't take...
Next, you're gonna say you're not the kid.
Well, what if I have a witness? What do you think, Hina?
Huh?
Remember what you were telling me earlier? Just to be perfectly clear, the knife disappeared while you were in the dining hall, correct?
Yeah.
And at any point while you were there, did you ever see me come into the dining hall?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, he definitely...
The knife disappeared while Hina was in the dining hall. But I wasn't there the entire time. In other words, there's no way I could have taken the knife.
Okay, then what if the idiot swimmer girl and Makoto are in on it together, and lying to protect each other?
Idiot swimmer girl? Oh, and more importantly, why would I get involved in something like that?
Speaking of which, I'd like to ask the bear, if there is an accomplice, do they also become blackened?
So you ask, and so I shall answer. Each murder is allowed to have an accomplice, but only the one who does the killing will get to graduate.
So in other words, two people can work together, but one of them has no chance of profiting from it.
Then there's no way anyone would work together, right?
But what if they did work together, and they just didn't know about the rule?
Good grief! Enough already! No, okay? There are no accomplices in this case! Oops! Did I say that out loud?
Anyway, I didn't go to the dining hall, and I didn't take the knife. So I'm not the killer.
Okay, so then, who did take the knife?
Hina seems the obvious candidate. After all, she just said she was in the dining hall.
No way! I swear it wasn't me!
Sure, but can you or anyone else prove that? I can.
That's right! Sakura was with me the entire time I was drinking my tea.
I hate to have to ask, but just to be sure, Sakura's...
Me.
Right.
But then, couldn't either one of them have grabbed the knife?
Actually, no. Because, well...
Just spit it out already.
I stayed in Hina's room last night.
I got so scared thanks to those creepy videos. I wasn't really thinking, I just asked her to stay over. Which means we have airtight alibis.
You stayed over? Doesn't that violate one of the school regulations? We're not allowed to sleep anywhere but the dorms, but it doesn't say we have to stay in our assigned room. So, I don't think that's a problem.
It is a problem! A boy and a girl spending the night together? It's unwholesome!
But I'm a girl.
You are? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry!
But if it wasn't either of you, then what other possibility is there?
Actually, there is one other possibility. Right, Hina?
Oh, yeah, that's true! One other person did come to the dining hall while we were there.
Why didn't you say so in the first place?
Well, because they're not here anymore. Sayaka. She's the one who came to the dining hall. And then later, she wound up dead.
I got it! Then, Sayaka is the one who took the knife?
That's the only possibility. And thinking back on it, she was acting kind of unusual. When she came into the dining hall, she didn't even look at us. She just went straight to the kitchen. As she left, she said she just wanted a drink of water. But most likely,
The person who took the knife was the victim herself.
I'm sure she just took it for self-defense.
So you're saying the knife she took was then taken from her, and she was killed with it? In that case, you may not have taken the knife, but you still could have killed her.
What?
See? He did do it after all!
No, you're wrong.
so that's how you would twist the argument and send us all off in the rotten...
Hold on. It's still too early to decide conclusively that Makoto is the killer, wouldn't you say? Because you see, if the room did belong to the killer, then they did something most bewildering. And until we unravel that little mystery, you simply can't—
Bewildering?
Something was missing from the scene of the crime that by all rights should have been— You know what I'm talking about.
That's right! There wasn't a single hair on the floor!
So, the culprit removed some evidence?
Yes, and if I were the culprit, why would I need to get rid of all the hair in my own room? It wouldn't be unusual at all to find my hair at the crime scene if the crime scene is in my room.
The reason all the hair was gone was to remove any trace that Sayaka had ever been there. That makes sense, does it not?
No. If that were the case, they would have had to do something about the body itself, not just her hair.
Okay, then why wasn't there any—
The killer got rid of it all, of course, to remove any trace that they had ever been there.
Wait, then that means—
Precisely. It's simply beyond reason to believe that the room's owner and the killer are one and the same.
Then, Makoto—
Are you sure we can decide something so important based solely on the absence of some hair?
No. There are other reasons that—
I would like to hear...
Do you remember anything remarkable about— Sayaka was attacked in the main room first, then
Yeah, then they ran after her, got—
And how did the killer get into the bathroom?
What do you mean?
It's fairly certain that the killer had— There was clear evidence left behind.
I evidence that the killer had trouble getting into the bathroom. The doorknob for my bathroom. It was... See how the top part was unscrewed? And the doorknob's about ready to fall off?
Oh yeah, true. But what does it mean?
In trying to bypass the lock, they ended up nearly removing the entire doorknob. This is another most bewildering act for the room's owner.
So what? You're saying he wouldn't break the door? But if the only choice you have is to break it, you break it.
You still don't see? Let's take another look at how the incident The incident took place in Makoto's room. Sayaka was first attacked in the main room. She then fled into the bathroom.
Then the killer ran after her, and they got into the bathroom.
At that point, the killer had to try and bust down the door, because Sayaka had locked it.
And finally, the culprit had Sayaka cornered.
To finish the job, they stabbed her with the...
It was you, wasn't it? We already know the answer.
The incident took place in the Sayaka was first attacked. She then fled into the...
Then the killer ran out, and they got into the back. At that point, the killer had to try and bust down the door. See?
The incident took place. Sayaka was first. She then fled into the...
Then the killer ran, and they got into the back. At that point, the killer, because Sayaka had locked it.
No, that's wrong! The reason my bathroom didn't open wasn't because it was locked. After all, the girls' rooms are the only one...
Yes, now that you mention it, that is true.
Then why didn't your
Because it was stuck. Huh? What are you My bathroom door doesn't fit in the frame quite right. Monokuma over there can testify to that.
Yep, true as true can be. But you know, you're supposed to be the...
So the reason the door didn't open was just but the killer didn't know that and assumed it was locked. So they tore apart the doorknob to get in.
Okay, but then why would the killer... Everyone should have known you can't lock any...
The killer could easily make that mistake.
I got it! The killer must not have realized that it was my room.
What? Are you saying the culprit didn't even know where he was? That's inconceivable!
And yet, he's absolutely right.
Say what?
Well, to be more specific, what the killer didn't know was that Makoto and Sayaka had switched rooms. Which is what led to the misunderstanding about the bathroom. If Sayaka had been in her own room,
Then there would have been a lock on the door, and they would have had to break through!
So they had no idea how unnecessary their actions were.
ultimately, we can't know if it came open by force or simply by accident. But the killer must have been considerably confused, with no idea how they actually got the door opened.
Regardless, it was a pointless act. Wasting time trying to break down a door that wasn't locked is...
definitely something I wouldn't do, since I would have known exactly why it wasn't opening, right?
That is a definite possibility.
So the killer would have to be someone who didn't know they'd switched rooms? Then Makoto couldn't have done it.
Okay, then who did—
I'm sorry, but I give up! Quit without saving!
But what happens if we can't
Why don't we just vote right now?
majority rules?
You really think that's a...
Yeah, our necks are on the line here. Someone seriously needs to do something. For serious.
Does no one have any other thoughts or questions?
Oh, as a matter. Oh, you don't gotta sound so disappointed.
It's fine, it's...
Oh yeah. Well, I was just.
Yes.
Maybe Sayaka just dropped the key.
I don't think so. That seems...
Then maybe some.
Negative! If you remember, Monokuma made it quite clear that the lock...
Fine. How about this? The killer, they could have knocked and said they wanted to talk or...
No. That.
Oh! Trying to... Hello?
I got it! Because Sayaka was already scared, remember? That's why she asked me to switch rooms in the first place. Knowing what she'd been through, I just can't believe she would have opened the...
What if her being scared was...
Huh? Well, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Why would she lie about something like that?
I know you don't want to consider it, but look at this and tell me. I found a notepad during my search, and I shaded in the top sheet with a pencil. And these are the words that appeared.
Oh man! I've totally seen people do that on detective shows. And you're right, it can leave an imprint. Sketch over the next sheet of paper, and you can see the words. When I saw that, I was like, holy crap! I'd better make sure I rip the paper out before I use it from now on.
It's a pretty old-fashioned technique, but even the classics can be surprisingly useful sometimes. Oh, and I should also mention, I found the notepad on the desk in Makoto's room. Which means, only someone who had been in Makoto's room before...
Then either it was Makoto who lived there, or Sayaka who switched rooms for a...
So, Makoto,
No.
of course you didn't. Because the note also bears a perfectly legible signature.
But why?
The note was likely her way of getting... She must have slid it under their door to let them know she wanted to meet with them in secret.
You got an invitation like that from the ultimate pop sensation. What young man could resist?
Of course, I'm only into 2D, so it wouldn't have any effect on me!
But can we be sure anyone even got this note? And honestly, even if they did, I do not think they are... Huh? Would you... Very well then. Sayaka and Makoto switched rooms, correct? But in the note, the place they were asked to come to, it specifically says, my room. I see.
So someone then they would have gone to Saya.
Exactly. The room that Makoto was still...
No, it's wrong! The nameplates on Mai and Sayaka's room...
They got...
That's right. The nameplates got switched, just like as a result, the nameplate on Sayaka's room actually had Makoto's name. And the nameplate on Makoto's room had Sayaka's.
So what you're saying is, the room Sayaka was staying in was actually marked as her room.
Then, if someone did do what the note said...
Plus, their rooms are right next to each other. So switching the nameplates would be no... And the one who switched the names was...
Right. I got it! Me and Sayaka were the only ones...
You can also infer as much from... To understand that, we first need to understand what happened after. That's where the...
What happened? We figured it out! We know who did it! Whoever she...
But we still don't know who it is, you goddamn idiot!
Perhaps the answer to our previous question lies in that initial struggle.
Yes.
Then...
That reminds me. There was a replica sword at the...
Oh yeah. What's the deal with...
Sayaka suggested I should hold on to it. I thought it might come in handy if I had to defend myself. It seems pretty likely that the killer used it to break Sayaka's...
How the hell could you possibly know that's what broke her...
All you have to do is take a good look at her broken wrist. Right there where her wrist is all swollen. There's something glittery there.
Is that gold?
It sure is. Specifically, the gold coating from the replica sword. You barely have to touch that stuff, and it'll stick right to you. And there's some on her wrist because...
I got it! Because she got hit with the sword! Right there on her wrist!
I see. And so the truth draws ever closer.
Alright, then it's about time. Broke out. The culprit grabbed the sword, and that's when the first blow was dealt. A sword-based sneak attack.
And that's what broke Miss Mizono's wrist.
Well, she tried to grab the kitchen knife she had hidden, but then the culprit took that from her too.
And they killed her with it.
And that's exactly what happened. When the fighting broke out, the culprit grabbed the sword, and that's when the first blow was dealt. A sword-based sneak attack.
No, it's wrong! Actually, no. Because the sword sheath had been scratched. See? There's a gash in it. Like someone cut into it with something sharp.
Something sharp? You mean like the kitchen knife? That was the only sharp thing found at the scene.
Stop jumping ahead! Slow down and explain.
If the sword was used first, there wouldn't be any explanation. If you were going to attack with the sword, you'd take it out of the sheath.
That's true. With the sheath on, it'd be heavy and bulky and useless as shit.
Okay, so how did... If they got attacked with the kitchen knife, maybe they grabbed the sword as a defensive impulse. In that situation, there wouldn't be any time to actually unsheath the sword.
So you're saying the sword was initially used to defend against an attack from the knife?
Which means whoever had the
I think I get it! So the culprit came in, found the kitchen knife, then they took the knife and attacked Sayaka before she... So she grabbed the sword to defend herself. But then the culprit took that from her, then, after they broke her wrist with the sword, they...
Sorry, but I don't think
What? How the hell can you not think that?
Because she never held the sword at all. There's a certain part of her body that...
I got it! You're talking about her palms, right? The palms of her hands were perfectly clean. so I don't think she ever picked up the sword.
How can you know that just by looking at her palms?
Like I said before, the gold coating on that sword comes right off. All you have to do is touch it. In fact, if you look, you'll notice that a lot of the gold has already come off the handle. It's safe to assume that's because whoever used the sword got some of it on their hands. There's really no way she could have picked it up and come away completely clean.
Maybe she washed her hands after she escaped into the bathroom.
Sorry, but I don't think so.
Why do you say that? Is it because you think I'm ugly?
No, that's not it at all. According to the Monokuma file, Sayaka's time of death was around 1:30 a.m. In other words, at nighttime. And the water in the bathroom shuts off at nighttime, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Actually, I haven't taken a shower here yet. You're no different! You smell—
I'm not sure whether to take that as an
insult, obviously.
So anyway, if Sayaka never touched the sword, the killer is the— But hold on! If that's right...
I got it! Sayaka? She had the kitchen knife?
But we already said that the attack started with...
The person with the knife attacked first, and the sword was used as an impromptu.
And the one who attacked—
Sayaka?
Now do you understand? She wasn't a blameless victim.
No, far from it. It's almost as if she'd been planning to commit a murder of her own. She took the knife from the kitchen, then invited the culprit to the room she was staying in. And if it's true that she had the kitchen knife and attacked without provocation...
Indeed. These are all the actions of an assailant.
Which brings up another point. Makoto, Sayaka was maybe the reason she wanted was so that she could pin the crime on you.
Sayaka wanted to... on me?
That would also explain why she would switch the nameplates. She wanted to get whoever she had targeted to come to Makoto's room where she was staying. And by committing the murder there, instead of her room, but for that to work, the target had to be ruled out. If the target knew she had switched rooms,
So all that's why she...
But doesn't that plan seem a little risk for one thing? Even if her plan worked, Mr. Naegi would...
I don't know. I'm not sure our soft-hearted Makoto is capable of that kind of cutthroat behavior. I'm sure Sayaka realized the same thing, which is why out of all of us, she asked him to switch rooms.
Plus, she was the ultimate, totally forgettable kid. Or a national superstar. Who are you more likely to believe?
Wait, then you're saying she had this all planned out?
Holy shit!
but in the end, her plan back, she launched her attack with the knife, then found herself under attacking her. That must be when her wrist got broken, and she was forced to drop the knife.
The tables were suddenly turned on her. And
Just hold on! That can't... because...
Hey! You guys have... You're being super boring! Wouldn't it be awful if I had...
Oh yeah,
Makoto, right now you just need to call if we can't uncover who murdered Sayaka. It's open.
It's easy just to say, hey, decide who did it. But there just aren't any more clues, right?
No, that's wrong! There still might be one clue left.
Dining. Wait, what did you say?
The dying message. She 11037. written in her own blood. There must be a clue about the killer hidden in there.
Well, before we get too far into that, I need to ask, can we really be sure that Sayaka...
I got it! Her left index finger had blood on it. That could only be because she used that finger to write the message.
I see. She broke her right wrist during the fight, so she'd have to use her left hand to write.
Sure. I think we can all agree Sayaka wrote it. What the heck do those numbers mean?
Hey, Chihiro, you're a computer.
No, that's not... Yes, I'm a programmer, but I don't see any kind of meaning in these numbers.
Of course.
Oh!
What?
No, it's just... look at the... Don't these first two, 1, 1, look less like two numbers?
Ah, you're right. The connecting line is barely there. So looking at it now, you could...
Whoa, you might have finally...
But even if that really is an N037.
Rotate the...
Oh my god.
Huh? You just shot past the clue part and right up... So, who's...
Here's my answer! The key to solving this mystery was simply to rotate the writing 180 degrees. If you turn the message around, it becomes the letters L-E-O-N. L-E-O-N. Or more accurately, Leon.
What the hell are you talking about? It's just a bunch of random squick...
No, it's... She wrote that message on the wall behind her as she was leaning up against it. In that position, she couldn't move to write normally, and had to write upside down, as it were. And as a result, when you look at it standing in front of her, it ends up getting flipped. Try it for yourself if you want. Write something sitting like her, and the letters will be inverted.
That sounds like one hell of a stretch to me. I'm the killer? You can't just go and say shit like that.
If you're not the killer, then why did you try to just...
Huh?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I got it! You mean the burnt shirt piece I found laying on the ground by the incinerator, right?
As the killer stabbed Sayaka, they must have gotten some of her blood on them. And to dispose of the shirt covered in the victim's blood, they threw it into the incinerator.
But one piece burned off and got left behind.
And the killer didn't notice. If they had, they most certainly would have panicked. Isn't that right, Leon?
Is one scrap of fabric enough to...
Yeah, I mean, Leon's not...
That's right! There are plenty of other people here with shirts like mine. With just that one little charred piece, there's no way you can say for sure who it belongs to.
You're right. That alone...
Are you finally starting to understand?
Yeah. Look closely at how the shirt was disposed of. We should...
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You can't reach the incinerator without opening the gate in front of the trash room. And obviously, you wouldn't be able to... You'd need the key to get in. And so the killer had to be whoever was in... the key to the trash room. Whoever was on cleaning duty must have had it, right?
So the only one who could get to the incinerator was the person in charge of the trash?
No, that's wrong. Hold on. I think I know.
But if you can't get past the gate,
Yes, you could.
What is it, some kind of glass ball? It's busted to hell.
Actually, it was supposed to be a crystal ball, but,
But how would you use it?
I got it! The killer simply took aim at the incinerator switch and threw the ball through a gap in the gate. All they had to do was hit that switch, and the incinerator would come to life.
Someone threw a gap in the gate?
Remember what you said before, Hifumi? Hifumi had the key, so the only way the incinerator could have been turned on without his knowledge was because the killer was able to hit the switch without opening the gate. Once they got the incinerator going, all they had to do was ball up the shirt and toss it in.
Hey, come on! What the hell is this?
All you have to do is look at the scene to know that the killer never actually went inside the trash room. The shards of broken glass, the incinerator left running, the piece of shirt that escaped the fire. If the killer had been on cleaning duty, the evidence would have been...
Wait, no, just...
But the distance from the gate to the incinerator, the pinpoint accuracy you'd need to throw a glass, could someone...
That's right! There's no...
Difficult, absolutely. Impossible? I don't think so. I got it! Because the killer is the ultimate baseball star. Isn't that right, Leon?
Do you have any idea how stupid you sound right now?
A target 30 feet away would surely be little challenge for the ultimate baseball.
You can't be serious! I'm not the killer! These goddamn shipper brains have got it all wrong, I'm telling you!
You still won't admit it? Okay then. Makoto, go ahead and with that, we can end this.
Listen to me! What the hell do you mean, end this?
Say what you want, Leon. But all the questions have been answered, and the truth has been revealed. Now here's what... I think I'd better take one more look back at the case from the beginning. Last night, the killer went to the room Sayaka was in. In other words, from what we can tell, Sayaka invited that person there intending to kill. She attacked them with the knife she'd taken from the kitchen. But then something happened that she wasn't prepared. They grabbed the fake sword I put in my room and fought back. During the struggle, a strike from the sword broke Sayaka's right wrist. And that's when she lost her grip on the kitchen knife. Finding herself cornered, Sayaka panicked. The killer went after her, but couldn't get. What they didn't know was that my bathroom door got stuck easily, and there was a trick to opening it. Sayaka knew about that because I told her, but of course the killer had no way of knowing. So instead, the killer and stabbed Sayaka. But with what strength she had remaining, to keep the killer from noticing, she wrote it on the wall behind her. And with that, all her strength was gone. With Sayaka dead, the killer quickly began destroying the evidence. First, they took off their shirt, which was covered in their victim's blood. Then they took the lint roller in my room. They wanted to make sure they got rid of any trace. Afterwards, the killer headed to the trash. They tried to burn the shirt using the incinerator there, but the trash room was blocked off by an especially sturdy gate, preventing. So they came up with a plan to use Hiro's crystal ball. The killer managed to throw the ball through the gap in the gate and hit the incinerator switch. For any normal person, that'd be an impossible throw. But the killer had the confidence to take, and that's because the killer was the ultimate. The crystal ball, thrown with absolute precision, hit the switch on the incinerator, which then quickly roared to life. Having destroyed the final piece of evidence, but there was one thing they missed. Part of the shirt they'd thrown into the fire burnt away. The killer didn't notice this, and so left behind a... Isn't that right, Leon? It would appear that Hiro simply forgot his crystal ball in the laundry room. You went there to try and wash the blood out of your shirt, and that's where you saw it, right? Seeing the ball, you thought of a way to take care of... So, Leon,
Do I object? Hell yes, I object! I mean, all of this is just a bunch of stupid theories! You need evidence! Without evidence, it's all bullshit!
Well then, I guess this is as good a time, Makoto. When the killer removed the screws from the doorknob, they didn't use any. Instead, they must have used.
I refuse to acknowledge you! You're stupid! Stupid, stupid, stupid! Stupid, 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 stupid! Where's your proof? You kidding me? Not a chance! It wasn't me! Stupid! You lie! Stop talking! Shut up! Where's your proof? You kidding me? Not a chance! Stupid! You lie! Shut up! Where's your proof?
This should prove it. The screws on the bathroom doorknob were removed. I wonder what kind of tool the killer used to remove them.
I mean, it had to be a screwdriver, right?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure the toolkits we got each had one inside.
That must be what he used. There aren't any other tools anywhere.
But the toolkit in my room had...
That's because the culprit didn't know it was your room. They thought they were in Sayaka's room.
Only the boys got toolkits, so the killer naturally assumed there wouldn't be one in there.
Okay, then whose...
Stupid, stupid, stupid!
It had to be their very own toolkit.
Stupid, 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 stupid!
Leon, would you mind showing us your toolkit? The screwdriver will show some evidence.
Stupid, stupid, stupid!
Huh? And if you say you used it for something else, you'll have to explain exactly when, where, and why.
And let me say this right now. I lost it isn't an excuse at this point.
Stupid! Stupid!
So, you have no rebuttal?
Then it would seem we are finished here.